There is a famous photo, by the side of beach. On the other side of Manhattan, there's like two people talking, and the World Trade Center is collapsing, and they're just not bothered. This all boils down to one thing, that is human sensitivities. So when we become desensitized, then things just don't matter, they don't bother, no matter what happens.
Hi, welcome to KC Talks. In the series of podcasts that we are doing on civilizational challenges with Dr. Sahadeva Swami, today we will discuss about family bonds and joint family culture that is perishing very fast in India. Hare Krishna Swami.
Hare Krishna.
So I heard that you come from a Marwadi family,
Rajasthani, yes. Marwadi,
Rajasthani
yes.
Marwadi family. So whenever I hear word Marwadi, all we get to see is in my childhood I had a friend. 100 people used to live in the same house. Literally 100 people. So very, very big house. House in almost an acre land. So when a food is being cooked in their house, it looks like this is cooked for a hotel, big, big plates, big, big utensils. So do you see that, you have seen your ancestors, 100 people living under the same roof?
Well, I've seen, we grew up in cities, but holidays we used to visit Rajasthan,
Hmm.
our grandparents.
Hmm.
Yes, we have seen joint families, big, not so big, but even now in our family, they maybe 50, 60 people under one roof.
50, 60
Yeah,
people under one roof.
industrialists, they are prominent industrialists,
Hmm.
but very organized family. Our uncles.
Hmm.
So it's still, there are traces of these things are visible.
So, do you see that culture going forward?
No, well, in today's setup, two people surviving under one roof is a challenge,
Very much a challenge.
So because the the sharing and caring, you need these two attributes in order to live together.
Hmm.
So both are becoming extinct. So there is, BBC made a series, Century of the Self, that with the onset of industrialism, we have become more and more self centered, and the sharing and caring is all but gone. So, naturally, there is not, you see, when you are along with, you live in a community, that feeling of community, today is everybody for himself or herself. That's why you have, like iPad, iPhone, iMac, not V phone,
Okay.
V pad, it's all about me, even
All about
small kids.
I and mine.
Yeah, even small kids, this
Hmm.
very perceptible today. They don't bother about their siblings anymore. Earlier, probably, parents can testify, kids a decade or two back were more concerned with siblings than today, probably. So, yes, we are dangerously becoming more and more self centered, and, so sense of community is lost.
And South India, I see in my own parental generation, the joint families broke. They all become nuclear families. And now, you said right, siblings don't have bonding. We technically have nobody other than, you get married and then the wife becomes your world. And even in that scenario where wife or for a wife, husband becomes a world, they keep fighting under a same roof. So I think family bonds are at its extent now.
Yeah, so you see, all living being, a man is a social animal. All other, you see, interaction, this innate desire of the soul to interact with fellow beings.
Hmm.
Whether you take ants or monkeys or donkeys, you got to live
They all live in groups.
groups, social society, community, So now that thing, human society, it's visible in urban techno urban industrial atmosphere. I mean, surround settings. This is the result of decades of urbanization. So that's called lonely in a crowd. Though you are in a crowd, but you are very lonely. And what happens is this is leading to so many ills in human society. One has no, you see, life has ups and downs, but people always had somebody to fall upon,
Mm.
Everybody had some shoulder to cry upon,
Mm.
Today it's all you're for yourself, you're, it's just, it's very interesting that way back when our founder went, and they I'm talking of late 60s, somebody was being murdered on the American street, and nobody even so much as winked an eyelid, and then there is a famous photo, by the side of beach, on the other side of Manhattan, there's like two people talking, and the World Trade Center is collapsing, and they're just not bothered.
Mm.
So this all boils down to one thing, that is human sensitivities.
Mhm.
So when we become desensitized, then things just don't matter, they don't bother. No matter what happens, somebody is sick, it doesn't matter. Your relative is, in trouble, doesn't matter. You see something horrible going on, it doesn't matter,
Mm.
So there is that is called, people are becoming desensitized.
Okay.
Desensitization is happening, the emotionless, just like machines are.
Mm.
The more we deal with machines, the more we eat food which is devoid of, untouched by human hands, and
Mm.
devoid of emotion. Actually, food carries emotion when handled by, handled with emotion.
Mm.
So industrialized production is emotionless.
All your kurkure and lace chips, huh?
Not only that, what you're growing, what you're processing,
Mm.
what everything what you get in the world today does not have emotions attached. You see, when a farmer grows, farmer, sows seed and, waits for the crop, lovingly waters, harvests, winnows and thrashing and, harvest. There is some emotion, human touch is involved.
Mm.
So that carries. So when you have industrialized production,
Mm.
it's all machine. There is no feelings attached to anything,
Mm.
So why? So milk, for example, is supposed to carry the emotion of a cow, which she feels for the calf. There is very strong bonding there.
Mm.
So when you have drink that milk, actually you're supposed to imbibe that sensitivity, emotions, or the vatsalata, or the affinity. And so today's industrial dairy is, it's all like slaughterhouse operation only. So nothing is, so everything is becoming devoid of feelings,
Mm.
So that, so luckily we have got dogs and to some extent cats. That's how the world is. Ultimately people need some meaningful, loving interaction, and they end up with their dogs,
Okay.
Everywhere you see in America, India also now, people just have their dogs for
Yeah, petting
themselves.
is increasing day by day, but petting
Ah, yeah, the trend for keeping pets,
pets, yeah,
yes.
it's increasing, day by day. So you gave me a whole new perspective that because human interactions are declining, then the petting is increasing.
Yeah, people need, because we are living beings. The soul has two basic propensities.
Mm.
No matter which species, the soul is there. Whether elephant body, an ant body, soul is there. Human body, dog, cat, monkey, donkey. So soul has two defining features. One is to love. And when there is love, second propensity is to serve.
Mm.
So if you have nobody in life, you keep a dog or a cat. So what happens? You are able to love and you are able to serve. Big people you see, they take their dogs out for a walk,
Mm.
and while the dog takes care of its morning business, they wait with a bag, because littering is not allowed everywhere.
To collect the poop.
Yeah, and they have to collect it. So they are serving actually, because there is so loving and serving. Nobody can live without it. So if you have nobody, then you end up with a dog, because the
Mm.
family lives are becoming, uh, a history,
Mm.
something soon it will be like, extinct. You just hear about it, read about it.
Mm.
My institution of marriage is becoming history.
Mm. There's a famous saying, a biblical quote: "A family who prays together stays together." So do you have anything like that in Hindu theology?
Of course, that, you know all these all these degenerating trends owe their origin to lack of, when man moves away from spiritual injunctions, or moves away from God. So as we absorb ourselves more and more in materialism and move away from, then the more we become, more machines than conscious beings.
Mm.
So praying, when you think of God, when God is in picture, you know
Mm.
and then when you there is a word called brotherhood.
Mm.
Okay, you got to we are all brothers and sisters,
Universal brotherhood.
universal brotherhood. But without recognizing father,
Mm.
how can you have brotherhood?
Mm.
Brotherhood only matters or will have meaning if you understand father.
Mm.
So if you actually respect your father, then, or you care for your father, then you will care for sibling, because father loves
Everybody.
everybody. So, if I disrespect or my brother is unqualified, I got to take care of, because father is concerned with my brother.
Mm.
So those who are actually genuinely spiritual,
Mm.
you know they actually care for all living beings, because
Mm.
all are supposed to be the children of God.
Mm.
Some are more privileged, some are less privileged.
Yeah.
But so that's where universal brother. Otherwise, dog is good, cow is food, speciesism. So now even human beings, you don't
Mm.
care.
There is this beautiful saying in Hindu theology called Vasudeva Kutumbakam. So can you elaborate on that, Swamiji?
Vasudhaiva Kutung, Vasudha is planet Earth.
Hmm.
So we are speaking, you rightly pointed out, in the beginning here, that the family size is shrinking.
Hmm.
And here you have a concept
Hmm.
that whole planet is your family.
Hmm.
Can you imagine the kind of vision
Hmm.
that is ingrained in Sanatana Dharma?
Yeah.
That whole planet, and that doesn't just include human beings,
Hmm.
it includes all living beings. So now, and Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is not just a saying.
Hmm.
I have seen it.
Where have you seen that?
I have actually seen that, you see, for example, in Rajasthan,
Hmm.
we used to have these huge mansions,
Hmm.
Havelis, and the one I was born in Navalgarh, in a place called Navalgarh, and I haven't seen all the room, but it had many, areas. So, but I have seen two underground storage,
Hmm.
what you call, basements, takhane.
Hmm.
One was storing groceries, what we used to, the people were eating, and the other one storage was for all the other living beings.
Hmm.
Other living beings like dogs,
Hmm.
ants,
Hmm.
then there is cows, stray cows,
Hmm.
and there are, the vultures and kites. So I have seen that every day
Hmm.
when I so Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, I've seen it, experience it myself.
So every day your ancestors was feeding all of
Yeah,
these
so
animals.
more when as kids we used to go for holidays, you like to sleep in.
Hmm.
But again, early morning, the great grandfather, maternal great grand, he would just wake up, round up all the kids available, and each one, in the severe winter also, you're lugging around with a bag. So, for example, I may be carrying the flour for the ant hill. Then you so take the flour and empty your bag over an ant hill. Can you imagine? They were concerned. What the ants gonna eat? Can you
No, no,
imagine?
this is unimaginable.
I have seen that.
Mm-hmm.
That to feed ants.
Uh,
Then there would be stacks of chapatis
Hmm.
for the dogs.
Hmm.
And then there is jawaris, the jawar. What do you call it in English?
Sorghum.
Sor, sorgra. Yeah, jawar. Jawar, that is for the birds.
Hmm.
And then there is jaggery
Hmm.
for the stray cows.
So you used to have a separate godown for all of this.
All of this, and twice a week,
Hmm.
or at least once a Thursday and Saturdays,
Hmm.
these bhajis,
Hmm.
pakodas for the kites and vultures, because they don't get carrions or dead bodies every time.
Hmm. So you make pakodas and feed them.
Feed them. I remember you go Thursday at 10 o'clock something and make particular noise, and sky they will be coming, and we used to as kids, I remember throwing in the air,
Ah.
and they'll swoop down
Ah.
and then fly away and eat while flying and coming again. So that
Okay.
was a great fun. A whole
Wow.
basket full of.
So
I have seen
you
that.
had a great childhood then.
No, at least when we were on
Hmm.
holidays. So I have seen that, and once my on my paternal side, my grand he came home after going to a nearby town. Whole day he was out, and he sat down to have his evening meal. Meals were very early, not late, while the before the practically around the sunset, a little earlier than sunset. And then he saw the stacks of dog bread chapatis sitting there in the kitchen. So he was about to start, then he said, "What about those?" Then everybody's like, they forgot that morning. He had left very early, and it just everybody forgot to give those dogs those chapatis. Stack of is still sitting there. Then he just got up, washed his hands, and said, "Sorry, I can't have it today. Our dogs are hungry."
Oh.
So he didn't eat anything, and after night you're not there. Nobody will eat because there is no street lighting, anyways. So next morning he had his meals after he finished all his that going out and distributing. So that was the level of concern for other living beings. And
Hmm.
I tell you, in those towns, if somebody is looking for meat, fish or eggs, he'll starve, just because maybe one community internally privately maybe cooking something,
Hmm.
but it was just not available.
Very beautiful, Swamiji, that you all people lived. You coexisted with the living beings in and around you.
Yes, and again I can also tell you that on paternal father's side, his grandfather, when he was passing away, he just asked for a piece of paper, and he took up his pen and he wrote. That was his final message. His final message. So I've been talking about on mother's side. Father's side, his grandfather, he wrote that चींटियों को आटा देना है, कबूतरों को जवारी देना है, कुत्तों को रोटी देना है, गायों को गुड़ देना है, चीलों को पकौड़ी देना है.
Mm.
He just wrote that slip
Mm.
and he died. And I was told that in his funeral,
Mm.
so many living beings actually joined the procession, you know.
Seriously?
So many living beings,
Like
both in
dogs
the
and
land and in air also.
oh,
His procession, I was told, you know.
the dogs followed and monkeys followed him, is it?
Yeah, I mean, all kinds of living beings actually joined him, you know, in his final journey. So that was the human society, concern for others.
Mm. Beautiful, Swamiji. So you had a
So this is the this is where civilization starts. You know, I read a very nice post on social media last maybe 2 3 years back that two archaeologists are, you know, digging, and they find a skeleton
Mm.
where the femur bone or whatever
Mm.
has been broken and joined. Joined means it was broken, obviously, and it has joined. Then one says this is civilization. This is now where the beginning of civilization. Why? Because somebody with that kind of bone breakage
Mm.
will require to be looked after for several months.
Okay.
So then that is actually the beginning of civilization, when we start caring for each other rather than killing each other, you know.
Okay.
So that is
No, but
the,
how does this signify that skeleton? What does it give?
yeah, you see, what happens is somebody broke his or her important bone.
Okay.
Now they discovered that bone has healed.
Okay.
So now that in order for that healing to happen,
Mm.
the somebody must have for months together must have cared for,
Okay.
must have fed,
Mm.
must have bathed or whatever, you know.
Mm.
So that without a civilized setup in jungle, if that were happened to another animal,
Mm.
that animal would pass away.
Yeah, it will die.
It will die because that kind of care does not exist.
Yeah.
So when you have that kind of care in that signifies that this is the dawn of civilization, you know.
Mm.
So civilization means that we start caring, bothering about each other, you know, caring for each other.
Excellent. We started this podcast by saying about joint families. Now this is leading us to understand that the joint families is not only human beings. We have to coexist with all the living beings in and around us.
Yeah, Bhagavata communism. Aku marka, you know, tesha mantaram kiyat. You know, there is a verse, very nice verse, that a householder has to be concerned with rats, with lizard, with all other living beings in his home. Because what is the difference between these innocent animals and the children?
Mm.
So a householder, you know, there is a in in Gujarat there is a village. All dogs are millionaires, karodopatis,
Mm.
because they villagers their great grandfathers made trust for them.
Mm.
Kutariya Trust. That village name is whatever, Kutariya Trust.
Mm.
So and that is huge money now, you know. So all dogs are karodpatis, you see. So this was India, wherein not only you are concerned with your own, you are concerned
If
with
immediate
all
family
living
members, you are
beings, you
concerned
know.
with all living entities, and that is a real Vasudeva Kutumbakam mean. So, at least in the biblical terms, they say the family who prays together stays together. But you are telling that in Hinduism, that family is not just human beings, that family is all the living entities
Yeah,
and you.
householders were meant to, you know, take
Mm.
care of, you know, concerned with all living
You
beings.
said a beautiful saying some time back. that पहले रोटी गाय की और आखिरी रोटी कुत्ते की.
Yes.
This is all coming from there. That
Yes,
understanding.
exactly. That, first, your first what you cook belongs to cow, and towards the end for the stray dogs.
Mm.
And now you see, I see nobody wants to keep a bowl of water for birds, for stray dogs. People are not concerned. They just lost the sensitive. Even in Hyderabad, I have seen some Jain ladies, when you go for morning walk, in their chariots, they didn't have car back then, right?
Mm.
So now they twist the leg of the poor pig.
Mm.
So what the pig will do?
Shout.
Yeah,
Scream.
scream.
Mm.
Now that scream, squeal or whatever you call it, will attract wolves.
Mm.
Wolves, are they coming to help the poor animal in distress?
No, coming to eat it off.
So they are coming, they realize, these wolves, that some animal is in trouble. So today, is it a human society? When there is an accident, I have seen with my own eyes the bike before, of course, we get to them. There is a bike gets hit, and somebody just takes away the purse. I've seen that by the time you reach out, this guy is gone on his bike. Now point is, there's somebody, they broke somebody golden teeth also. So is it a human society or Wolverine society? Yeah.
Thank you so much for your beautiful perspective on the whole Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, of understanding that the family is not just our immediate ones, rather the complete gamut of living entities. And we should do another podcast understanding how do we coexist with the other living entities. Thank you so much, Swamiji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.